Good evening. Tonight's class is going to be a continuation of what we are learning, which is JavaScript itself, right? And today we'll be going into functions, right? So we want to know what are functions, how do we use functions, and what does it really entail? So basically, like I have here, function is just like a fundamental building block of any programming language, right? And it's a block of usable codes that perform a specific task, right? So which means I want to write something and I feel like I know I'm going to reuse this 1,000 times for quite a number of times, right? There's no point writing that particular code again. I can write it once, store it as a function, and anytime I want to use that action or that task, I can always call on that particular function and it will work perfectly well for me, right? So instead of repeating that same code, function does the magic and every other thing works very well. Right, so I don't want to go into the nitty-gritty. Yeah. So and I don't want to go into why they are important and just let's just dive into how do we declare a function in JavaScript. So let's start with a specific function. So we start with if you are declaring a function, we just do it this way. We just say function greet, right? Then we create a curly braces, right? And we give it whatever task we want it to say. So instead of now creating a variable and attribute that variable to this part, assign that variable to this particular code or this particular string, can as well create a function, and anytime you want to use the function, we just call on the greet function. So once we do this, we are calling on that particular function and we press play, right? Once I press play, you will see everything I've written here is perfectly shown. And that's one way of creating a function. So we have a way of creating the function declaration without a parameter. So I'm going to declare another function with a parameter, right? I'm going to create a function with a parameter. So I'm going to declare another function called another function. I'm going to use the same one, same function. Right, I'm going to create another function called function, say greet, use that same greet. Then this time around, this has a parameter. So this is called a parameter, right? A parameter is just like an argument. Let's just say argument, right? Inside a function. Those things I want to put inside a function. Can either call them parameter or something else, right? So this time around, I want to make sure I make it more. So with the parameter, we can make it more dynamic where if I just put greet function now and I put Fatima, right? And I put Aisha, then I can play. If I play this, you will see it saying hello Fatima. So from what I have here, it's saying hello, right? With a concatenation. We did concatenation earlier by adding a variable with a string, right? So we use concatenation. If you're adding a variable with a string, we use concatenation. And if the variable is also string from there, we use a concatenation basically. So we're saying, hello, Fatima, welcome to the world of function. And this is what it's trying to show us. Hello, Aisha, welcome to the world of functions, right? Your sister bears Aisha, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So so it's a little bit personal. right? Our code base is a little bit personal, right? So
Okay.
this is what is called a parameter. I'm sure it's easy. Then we can also use a return statement. So what do we use return statement for? We use this to return a result. So perhaps we don't want to show it inside the console. This is our console, right? We want to show it maybe on the screen. We want to pull it out to the client for client to see. Client means we want to show it on the screen, on the browser, right? The client side. It means we are showing it on the browser, right? So maybe perhaps we want to do that. So we can do functions with return value. I can just say so function with return value will just be functions. So for example, I want to write a function for addition. So instead of now doing that using that plus symbol almost every time, I won't do that. I'll just do return this. So anytime you use this particular function called add, right, and I put 5 and 10, just the way we have it here, we will automatically see that, right? It automatically brings in the answer. However, if I run this, nothing will show. Why? You won't see anything here, but you will see it on the browser if you show it on the browser, right? We will see it on the browser if we are saying this should return, and of course, we are trying as much as possible to return for later use, so we can easily get it anytime we want to use it. I can use it anytime. However, I can even create a variable from this, and I can display it whatever place, anywhere I need to replace it or use it inside my code base, right? I can easily say, let's results to be equals to this, right? Then come down here and say console.log result. For example, this is what we are going to get. Some results is this. So I don't know why it's giving me this. This is in this. Yeah. So I'm fine here. So if I play, of course, I will see 15 for obvious reason. Right? Can you see what return
Yes.
has been? Yeah, very easy, very easy, very easy. So,
But I didn't know return could not run on the
what did you say?
said I didn't know return cannot run on the console. I'm just knowing that.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. It won't run directly until I use it. You can see, I was able to use it back.
Yes,
Aha, so, aha. So, we have another function with default parameters. Can say functions. This thing they hear my language. Oh. Default
I
parameter.
was going to ask that. Can you hear what I'm saying?
So, so don't worry. Maybe after the class, we'll talk about it. So, so basically, function with default parameters is trying to declare a variable to be a certain value. So, which means we can't change that particular value, right? So, for example, I have a function with a multiply function called multiply. I have a, which is a variable, and I have a default value of b, which means anytime I have a, multiply by b. So, anytime I'm trying to work, if I'm going to use this, I can just say console.log or say let product one to be equals to this. So let's take product one to be equals to this, right? So which means if I'm going to run this particular code, you will see that it's going to be what? Product one will be, I've not done anything, right? So I need to console.log, bring it out to the console.log. Yeah. So let's run. So what this will show me is going to be 10 because I already have 1, which is a, right? Which is a variable, comma, times
Question.
2, which is the default value, right? So it's going to be what? 5 times 2, which is 10, which is 10, right? So, and I think that works perfectly well. Every other thing that I have here is true. So I don't need to show all this. I don't know why these are printing. And this is one of the disadvantage of this thing. Okay, so I think we are cool. I think we are cool with that, right? So we already know the difference between parameters and arguments, you know. We understand how it works, we understand the way things works and how things can be really cool with functions. This is simple task though, right? So we can easily use this to write some multiplication, division, subtraction, product, and any other thing you think you can work with, right? But from here, we can now move to an advanced function. This is elementary function. So let's move to advanced functions. So advanced functions, we are going to start with, say, different ways of writing functions. This is just one way of writing function before the advent of the ECMAScript 6, right? This is how we write functions. So I'm going to introduce us to one way that we can also write a function, a shorter way of writing a function, which is called an arrow function. Arrow function. So I'm going to do arrow function. Right? For arrow function, how do we do arrow function? So, what does this really mean? It's short, right? And it's a modern way of writing function, very short. I can write a function in one line compared to what we are trying to do here. That same function for multiply, so I'm going to rewrite it. So we are going to see the difference, right? So here I can just create a const, right? Called multiply because it's multiply I'm trying to do, multiply arrow function, right? So you will see what I'm trying to see here. So I have a multiply arrow function, which is the same thing. I intentionally use multiply arrow because I don't want to use the same name, right? So it's the same function that I'm going to call. You can see it's just like creating a const, right? To be equals to a parenthesis, then an arrow. The arrow is now bringing the return value statement. So we have an equality sign, a parenthesis, then the arrow. The arrow is now showing you what exactly you want it to return or what exactly you want it to have, to do. So once you call on this particular function, what does it really want it to do? So if this place is empty, it means we don't have any parameter. Are you getting it?
Yes, sir.
Aha. So because I want to have a parameter here, that's why I'm having a comma b. Do you understand? So if I'm going to call on this particular, I'm going to do that by just doing maybe I do this directly, or I can just do console.log. I can just do console.log. Yeah, I can just do console.log for product2 equals to multiply arrow function. That's the way we normally do here, right? Multiply arrow function, then inside we have a parameter 5 times. So I'm expecting 15 to show here. So let me change this to say 9. That will be 45. So let's run and let's see the difference. So we can see product 2 is 45, which is the same thing. So this is another way of writing a function, depending on what you really want, right? So this is one way, right? And I think this is what I'm going to introduce us to. I wouldn't want to say any other thing else. So there's another one called anonymous function. So we use this, we write this without a name, right? We just do it without a name, without putting any arrow. But I don't want us to go inside in those ones. So most of the time, this is what you will see in most code base writing arrow, especially if you are writing in ECMAScript 6 format. This is what you are going to see, right? And I think, yeah, we should also see this. Look at it. Let's create another example. So I can create another example called, say, const square const what can I do? So let's do greets with arrow, Then we have name, right? So this is what we have. So you can see what we have here. We are saying that once we call on this particular arrow function, we have the name, right? Then, which is what we have here. Then, what do we really want it to give us? So I'm going to change this from welcome to the world of arrow functions. Yeah, maybe we can leave it. So we can have I can now call on greet arrow function and change this from Sarah to Zara. So I know someone called Zara. I've been hearing Zara. I know Zara is a designer. So let's use Zara. So let's see how it works. So you just say, hello, Zara. Welcome to the world of arrow functions, right? Because this is a name and that is what we want to put inside. However, we can as well write it in another way. So I'm going to show you. So let's see what this is showing. Can you see Zara? So we can write the same get arrow function by, and I don't want to use that. So we can do const, say another,
I
what did you say? What did you say?
the name we have here.
Yeah.
Uh, okay. Is it the name we've declared earlier?
Yeah, that's what
Or
I want
this
to
is
show you another way of doing that. So I can have maybe greet greet arrow 2 equals to, we have an empty string, right? Then we have the arrow itself. I want to do that. Then what do we really want it to show us? Show us something like this without the parameter, right? So, which means I can easily put the name I want there. Just say name, right? Yeah, can just say name. So here I can come here and just do the normal concatenation, then put the variable I have there to be used. Concatenation again, then this. So I don't think I have issues. So I can come down here and just say greet Aisha for me, right? Which makes sense. So let's see. So you will see that we've got, well, hello Aisha. So what happened there? Do you know what happened there?
space.
Space.
There was omission of space.
Yeah, something like this. So if I run, I'm sure it will give me that space I'm looking for. Everybody will be cool, right? So, which I think makes sense. Which I think make a whole lot of sense. And this is how you can, I think I've been able to explain this with this,
Okay.
right?
So does that mean that it's possible for you not to put it in a parenthesis?
Yeah, especially if I decline the variable. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So with this, I think what I would want to teach again is doing a scope of variable. Scope of variables. So we have the global scope. So what do you mean by global scope? We have global and local, right? And that is what I was saying earlier as regards what you declared when you declared the variable the other time. So I thought I should quickly chip in this. So global scope is a variable accessible anywhere in your block of code, in your code. So if you are writing on a page, blah, 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 you're writing a code, if you declare a global variable, it means I can declare it anywhere, even in my conditional statement. So local variables are accessible only inside the functions. Are you getting it? So variable you declared inside your function are only accessible inside that function. Are you getting it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Variable you declared inside the function are only accessible inside the function. So this is how it works. So I'm going to do global scope. So we can have this. So so let me make it more unique, right? By just using say 23, right? And I can create a function. Okay, so even let's create let's use an arrow key function called global variable global var two global var two is equals to function, then I have an arrow, then I can say a global variable here. So I can declare this particular variable inside my function. So I can declare my global variable inside a function, and this is how it works, right? So you can see, so once I declare this, I can just say global variable two, and let's run. Let's see if this will run and it will enter. Can you see? Global variable is 23 because this is a global variable. I can declare inside the function, can declare it outside the function, and it will work. So let's talk about the local scope now. Local variable scope. So I can declare a function. I don't want to use, let's use the old method. All right. So and I said local variable scope are always declared inside the function. So I have this, then I have a local variable to be 45. Then I have something like this. Of course, it will be declared. However, if I want to do something again and I'm saying this should be declared for you. So, and I have something outside and say outside the, what's it called? Outside the variable scope. So I want to create this same variable I have, right? This same variable I have, I can just say console.log this inside there. Then I want to do console.log again outside the variable code scope. So you can see what I'm trying to do here. So what I'm trying to do here is just to declare this particular local variable outside the function, and let's see what it will give us, right? Let's see what this will give us. So let's run and let's see what it will give. It gives an error. So what error is it saying? It's saying there is an error where?
Mm. Mm.
Oh, sorry.
An unexpected token.
No, that shouldn't be. Aha. Everything should run
Okay,
except for the last
undefined.
one. Undefined. So why is it saying it's undefined? Local variable outside
Okay.
function.
It's not, it's okay.
It's undefined, right? Because this variable
Because
is
it's not,
a local variable. It's not a global variable. Are you getting it?
yes,
It's
sir.
a local variable. It's not because it is declared inside the function. So variable declared inside the function can only be used inside the function. That is why I was able to get this console.log saying local variable is equals to this. Do you get it? Do you get it?
So,
Yeah, and that's why I was able to get this 45 I declared inside this function. However, when I declared it outside the function, it's saying it is undefined. That is the major difference, right, between the first one
yes, sir.
and the last one, right? And I think that's that as regards function. Except, yeah, I'm sure you will know that we have function of a function, like function inside a function. It's called nested functions. I'm sure you should know that. So how do we do that? Just so let's do nested function. So I'm going to have a function called, So I'll just use the old method of declaring a function called, say, Fatima. So we declare a variable inside the Fatima, right? But this is not it. But inside this particular Fatima, I want to declare another function. So I have another function called Nakel. So I can say this, then this is done. Then I can declare Nakel outside that. So what I've been able to do here is to declare a function called Fatima. So inside the function called Fatima, I have another function called Nakel. So if I now called on Fatima and I run, right? So let's see what this will give us. Can you see? Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes,
It was, do you know,
no from the
and
nested
this function
function.
particularly resides in Nakel. As in, this particular thing I've done, this output resides in Nakel function. And normally I
Yes,
called, yeah,
okay.
that's what I'm saying. That is how nested function can be used, and it is very, very good for us to do that. So,
But again, I'm thinking
okay.
the Nike that is under the console log, okay, still inside Fatima, right? I don't know.
It's still within Fatima now.
Yes, okay.
So, of course, all these things are things that we are going to apply. We are going to apply them very well, and we'll see how it works, right? So, our next thing, which I think we can easily work with now, is let's talk about arrays. Arrays. I think it's important we also talk about that right now. So, let's talk about arrays. We are done with functions. So, let's do arrays. So, arrays, what are arrays generally? Arrays.
Arrays.
Okay, I'm listening. I'm listening.
Okay, so I'm looking at if object is like a dictionary, then
Object what?
array will be. I said if object is like a dictionary, like that
Dictionary in
is
Python. Yeah.
array will be like I don't know how to explain it. Like yeah, giving I don't know how to explain it. It's just as if
Array
you're
is
having
just like a
orange
special
fruit.
variable that holds multiple lists.
Like multiple
we know,
characteristics, something
yeah,
like that. Like you have fruits, you have
multiple
orange,
lists or
apple,
multiple
pineapple.
data. Yeah. So you know what we have been used to is we have a variable that is assigned to one value, either a
Mm-hmm.
number, a string, or an integer,
Yeah. Yes.
and sometimes we might have a variable that is associated with multiple names or multiple things. So how do we now combine these things together, right? And that is where array comes into play. It is called list in Python, right? But here it's called
Okay.
arrays. So
Yeah.
imagine I want to group set of people in a class. I have Fatima, I have Aisha, I have James, I have John, I have Olakunle, I have Olawale. They are all in a class. And I want to group them into class 1A or class 1. It means the variable name will be what? Class 1.
That's
And the
one.
member of those class will be what? Those names I've mentioned. And they are called arrays of names. It's just like normal
Mm.
English. But it is well explained in Python because of that list they talked about. So I can just say the list of students in the class is associated to that particular variable. So it means I have multiple names or multiple data type attached or attributed to or assigned to a certain variable compared to what we are used to. So for example, how do we declare an array? How do we declare an array? So we can say let an array. Let's get an array of fruits generally. So you can see I've got like apple, banana, cherry. What's your best fruit? Fruit.
My best fruit.
Dates.
Watermelon.
Wow. Is there anything called elderberry? Wow. I don't know. Watermelon, yeah. I know kiwi. I've eaten kiwi. Uh, aha. Papaya is purple.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, oh, sorry. Sorry about that. I shouldn't have used fruit. Should have used something else.
Oh,
Okay.
I.
Don't worry about that. So, this is how to declare an array, right? So if I'm going to show what I have here, I can just come here and just create and do run. So you can see, and for me to declare an array, I declare an array using a square bracket. Use a square bracket to
Uh,
declare an array. Very important. Very, very, very important. And inside the array, we can add, we can remove, we can know the numbers, we can edit, we can do so many things with array. So the first thing we can do to array is to check their positioning. So basically, I'm looking for in a class, like I said, in a class, we have Fatima, we have Aisha, we have James, we have Olawale, we have Olakunle, we have Lekon, we have so many names like that, right? And I'm looking for just Lekon in that class. There is a way I can get that done, right? And it brings us to what is called indexing. So we've been able to console this particular fruit, and this is what we can see. Can you see? We have apple, and these are all the fruits we're able to declare in our array, right? So how do we access it? Is by just doing so. I want to sorry to have indexing. So what do we mean by indexing in array? So indexing basically follow a zero-based numbering. It's just like normal numbering, right? But it follows a zero-based numbering. So if I'm going to get what I want to get the value of apple, or I want to just declare apple alone in this array of fruits, right? The first value inside array is always called zero. So this is zero,
mhm.
this is one, this is two, this is
Two,
three, this is
three,
four,
four,
five, six, seven,
five,
eight,
six,
nine.
7, 8, 9.
So it means we start what is a zero-based numbering, right? Zero-based numbering. So I can say what's the first fruit. So if I run this particular code, if I run this code, I can come back and say what's the first fruit. So if I do first fruit, so it's going to show me the first fruit is apple. The second fruit is banana. And how did I do that? I have what? An index 0 and index 1. So if I'm going to change this to index 9, which is the last one, I'm expecting it to show me papaya, right? And this is how we do that indexing, right? So how do we do, like I said we can add, we can subtract, we can remove. That is the meaning of subtraction. We can add, we can subtract, that's remove, right? We can add at the beginning, we can remove first, we can know the array length. So how do we do all these things? It's called array method. It's called array method. So let me quickly show you the array method. I'm sure this should not be new. We have the array methods, right? So how do we do that array method? So we have the first one, which is to add to the end of this list. I want to add to the end of this list. So I'm looking for cucumber, right? Is it cucumber or cucumber? Which one?
Cucumber.
Is it cucumber or cucumber? Me, I'm a typical Yoruba man. Oh. So I'm going to, so for array methods, right? So the first one I'm going to work with is push method, right? Push method is to add an element to the end of the array, right? So I want to add an element to the end of the array. So I'm going to create this called fruit dot push method. So pushing is to push to the end of the array. So I'm going inside it. What do I really want to put inside? Cucumber, right? So I'm going to console log, then say after push, what do I have? Right? So after push, what do I have? So I'm going to have something like this. Can you see? Cucumber has been added to it. So I can easily come here and say, I want to get the last value. I want to get the last value, right? I can just say console.log, console the log this say latest fruit, not length. I don't need your length. Latest fruit. Then this time around is going to be 10. So let's check. Can you see? The latest fruit is cucumber, which means it is inside the
Okay.
array. And this is how to get a new user. So if I want to add a user inside my database and I want to push it to the front end, I'm going to create an empty array, right? So if I create an empty array, so if you click on submit when you register, so what you are pushing, what I'm doing is I'm
Okay.
doing user.push.
Push.
Are you getting what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
User.push. So I will push. So immediately I push, my array becomes filled up with a certain name that I'm going to use while writing a code. So if it is the name I want, I will just push and bring out the name here. Then you can easily see, oh, welcome Fatima. You'll be like, so fast. Yes, so fast. So that is how to do that. So most times push is the most popular in this particular push, right? After that, we have another one called pop. So what pop does is it removes the last element from the array, right? So if I just do remove fruit pop, right? Do you understand? So let's check what we
Yes.
have here. For obvious reason, we can see that what we removed was cucumber, right? And after this, you can see cucumber has been removed after pop. Can you see? Please take note. After pop, it has been removed, right? So if you want to add to the beginning, what do we use? Adding to the beginning, there is this particular method called shift. There is this particular method called shift and unshift. So if I'm going to add, initially we did add to the end, remove to the end. So let's do add to the beginning, remove to the beginning. Add to the beginning, we do unshift. Unshift adds element to the beginning of the array. Do you get? Then we want to
Yes,
add
sir.
strawberry to the beginning of this array. Let's check. Strawberry, has it been added? Yes, strawberry has been added. Can you see before that was the first it has always been apple. Now we have strawberry. So if I'm going to remove at the beginning of this array, I use shift. So shift removes element from the beginning of the array, right? First element from the array, that's what it does. So let's run and let's check, right? What has been removed is strawberry. Then another thing which I think the last but not the least when it comes to array itself is we want to check the length of array, the total number of what we have in that particular compact box, right? Checking the length. So we have length. So, and we can use length, fruit.length to do that, right? Fruit.length to do that. And that is how it works. So we've been able to do things like, so it tells us how many it's the number of fruits that we have there is 10. Shikina. Number of fruits that we've got is 10. And that is how it works. And I think it's simple. So the last thing I think I want to quickly discuss here is talking about how do we now use this? How does this thing really works, right? For whatever thing we are trying to do. So most of the time we use this array in iterations. So I want to iterate over what I have when I'm using loop. So I can iterate over it. So most of it, when I have an array, right, iteration is the best thing to use to check what we have and bring them out individually. So for example, I have this particular, I'm going to use this fruit, for example, to work with me, right? So I will just let's do iterations, iterating through array or iterations via array. Iterations over array, right? So what I will just do first is just, if I do console log this, it's going to be empty. So what I will just do right now is just start with the iteration. Let's use the for loop. I'm sure you are used to for loop. For example, I have let I to start from 0, which is the first index, right? When I is less than or equal to fruit.length, that is the maximum. This is the condition. The condition now is not 5, it's not 10, it's not 15. It's the length of the what? Fruit, which is 10. Right? 10, 5 here, 5, 5. Then every time you iterate over it. So if you iterate, what do you want to show? This is what I want to show. So let me quickly explain this also. I have a console.log. It will console, it will bring the results inside this particular place. What it will do very basically to just tell me the index of each fruit. So for every I, so it shows I have one I is equal to 0. So what is it that we have? So I will be 0, then it will be what? Fruit I, which is fruit 0, fruit index 0. So everything will be what? Individually seen. So let me try and comment all this out, and let's see how this works. Can we see this? Fruit and index 0
Yes,
is apple. At index 1, you can see I don't even have the square bracket again, except for this that is showing. If I remove this and I run this code again, this will never show again. You won't see this again.
Oh.
So what's the problem? Oh, sorry. It's
Fruit is not
because
defined.
the cursor is there. No, it's saying it's because the cursor is on this particular thing, and that's why it's showing that error. So if I come here now and I run again, the error will fly off. Yeah. So can you
Okay.
see? So I've iterated over this particular array. Then I can bring it out individually. Right? So what I've just done is just make it a little bit complex. So I can easily remove all these two ranges, right? And say this. Can you see now? The square bracket has been removed. And this is how to remove the square bracket in the array. So if I'm going to show something inside an array, I use iteration. I can use while loop. I can use for loop. But many a time we use for loop, right, to check these things done. I think we've been able to do so many today in few minutes that we've discussed, right? So our next discussion, which is going to be our next class, we're going to discuss about objects, right? We're going to discuss about objects. We're going to discuss about OOP, object classes, and introduction to OOP itself. Object. What's the full meaning of OOP?
Object-oriented programming.
Okay, okay. Okay. So we are going to do that and see how we can apply this to our work. I've really shown you how to apply this to whatever thing we are trying to do, right? And we'll see the application would also be shown very well, right? Very well. The application is going to be shown very well. So do you have any question?
Not for now, sir.
Yeah, so I think functions and arrays are very easy. So we can easily get these things done. All right. So our next class, we are going to start with classes, object, and introduction to OOP itself, right? Very, very important and very, very key course, which I think we should also um be prepared for it. So enjoy and have a wonderful night rest.
You too, sir.